Hello, everyone. Welcome back to I See What You're Saying, the Disciplined Listening Podcast. I'm Michael Reddington, and today it is my pleasure to welcome our next guest, Hesha Abrams. Hesha is a master attorney, mediator, negotiator, and deal maker with over 30 years of experience and success resolving high-profile, difficult matters, including, as just one example, mediating the case over the private recipe for Pepsi. She is also the author of the book, Holding the Calm, The Secret to Resolving Conflict and Reducing Tension, where she distills all of her experiences and approaches into an easily digestible format that we can all learn from and apply not just to our negotiations, but our high-impact conversations across the board. I'm really excited to share this conversation today and get into her experience, her stories, and listen to her break all of this down in ways that we can all apply. I took tons of notes during this conversation. She's going to talk about why the term holding the calm specifically is so important, what it represents, why looking at it that way is important, and what it can do for all of us in our stressful conversations. She's also going to share the 3 diagnostic questions that she learns as she's meeting people, reading the room, so to speak, and getting the lay of the land. Speaking of which, situational awareness is big for her. We'll talk about that. She's also going to talk about why high emotions are diagnostic. They're not symptoms. We can read those to diagnose what something is really going on. She's also going to talk about, and I'm going to say this so I don't mispronounce it by accident, I'll spell it out for you. She talks about the power of validation and specifically how to apply her VUCS framework. It is a great conversation. We're going to get into way more than that. Tons of techniques and insight. Really appreciate you being here for another action-packed conversation. Please, while you're here, just take a second to subscribe to the show. Leave us your feedback. Certainly leave a review. Share it with your network. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for coming here week after week. And while you're online, check out our sponsors. You can head over to humantel.com and enter the code INQUASIVE25 for 25% off their best-in-class online training to recognize when people's emotions are shifting by identifying changes in their facial expressions and nonverbal communication. It's all there at humantel.com. For the professional interviewers, please head over to certifiedinterviewer.com. That's where you can find out all you need to know and get all your questions answered about joining the International Association of Interviewers, picking up on the chapters that are closest to you, what you can contribute, what you can get from the organization. And it is also where you can learn everything you need to about qualifying for, earning, and then benefiting from the Certified Forensic Interviewer designation. Everything you need to know is over there at certifiedinterviewer.com. And finally, while you're online, please check out inquasive.com, where you can learn all you need to know about the programs our clients ask us to custom facilitate for their senior leaders, sales teams, HR teams, and more, so we can teach them how to apply the strategic observation and persuasion skills necessary to uncover hidden value in all of their high-impact conversations. Thank you for being here for another week. We really appreciate it. So without further ado, I introduce to you Hesha Abrams. Hesha, it is so great to meet you. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you working, and we were talking offline. I won't share everything, but you're fighting through for us today, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your book as well. So I got a sneak peek and got to be prepared for this conversation. And after that, I could probably keep you here for 3 hours with all the questions that I want to talk to you about, but I won't do that because you've got a great book you want to read later on today. I want to make sure I give you plenty of time. So to talk about things people want to listen to, not just as I hint around the conversation we had 2 minutes ago, your book is called Holding the Calm. And I think a great place to start, there it is. I think a great place to start the conversation would be to ask you, what does holding the calm mean?
I love the question because I can tell you how it came up. So if you don't mind a quick little segue, most of our listeners, I'm assuming, know what the amygdala is. So if you know, excuse me for giving a quick 101 for the people that don't know it. The amygdala is 2 tiny kidney-shaped organs in the back of the head. It's often called the reptilian brain. It's the fight or flight or freeze response. It's a thing that happens like that. What people don't realize is that when the amygdala triggers fight or flight or freeze, the prefrontal cortex, which is here, which is the thinking, logical, rational part, goes dark. literally goes dark. Now, it's interesting because they've shoved people in MRIs and done all kinds of tests, so they know this. It averages about 20 minutes. That's it. So what happens when someone's really upset? We force them to listen. We force them to talk. We force them to do things. It's stupid. They're not capable because the prefrontal cortex is dark. You got to get that amygdala to calm down. So, for example, when people say, take a deep breath, I'm calm, I can do it, that doesn't really work. Why? It should work, but it doesn't. So what happens when the amygdala is triggered? It is an immediate feeling of powerlessness. Powerlessness. So when you do something to take away power, calm down, take a deep breath. You shouldn't do this. You should be calm. What's wrong with you? All you're doing is saying to the amygdala, you were right to get triggered. Trigger more, please. That's all you do. So what you have to be able to do is say to yourself, you got this. You can handle this. You can do it. So one of the ways that, look at the work I do. I walk into battlefields all the time working out with, I hate labels, but, sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths, huge, intense negotiating kind of people. It's not kumbaya with those folks. And sometimes they attack me. So, and I have an amygdala, my amygdala will get triggered. So what I learned to do for myself is say, I'm holding the calm, I'm holding the calm, I'm holding the calm. Takes 2 seconds. It works dramatically. So the question is why? And why not I hold the calm or hold the calm? Because those are powerlessness comments. You're not doing it right. Do it right. And the amygdala goes, right? If I say I'm holding the calm, what I'm saying to myself is, I got this. I got skills. I got tools. I got this. And the amygdala gets reassured very quickly, very quickly. We're talking 10, 20 seconds. And the more you practice it, the better it is. And when the amygdala is calmed down, prefrontal cortex lights up. Now I can think. Now I know what to do. Now I know how to do it. That's why I did it. I'm not looking for business. I've got more business than I know what to do with in my world. And my little silly $14 Amazon book, I don't make any money off of this. I don't want to. Everything gets donated. Why did I write this? Because nobody knows how to do it. People don't talk about it. They have big, huge books this thick with theory and, you have to do my protocol or you have to do, this procedure. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know how many ways there are to take a shower? How many ways there are to brush your teeth? Do it your way. It's just understanding some of the basics of one of the things we talked about pre-online is putting the right bait on the hook. Chapter 1 of the book is speaking into the ears that are hearing you. Why would I treat an extrovert the same as I would treat an introvert? When you say it like that, it sounds kind of stupid, doesn't it? Why would I treat a thinker person the same as I would treat a feeler person? Now it sounds pretty obvious. What about big picture versus detail? Those are the 3 main diagnostic things I use. There's Myers-Briggs. And there's like a million things out there. I know that stuff. I've trained in it. I find it interesting. Too darn complicated. Too darn complicated. So if you're dealing with somebody, you need something quick. I got to look at you and say, what would be most effective with Michael? I got to do it quick. Now, I don't know you. We haven't spent hours talking with each other. How do I really know you? But just in talking with you, can I gauge introvert or extrovert? Thinker versus feeler? Big picture versus detail? 3 questions. That's all I have to do. And what's interesting, let's say I get it wrong. You will correct me instantly. I will have instant information. And then now what I've also done is I hate to say the word energetically, but we know that people feel the way that our intentions come out. You will feel that I'm paying attention to you. That's enough. Just there. I don't have to be right. I don't have to diagnose correctly. Your amygdala calms the heck down because your amygdala looks at me instantly and says, friend or foe. I want it to say friend. I don't want it to say foe. See how simple that is? That's holding the calm.
There's so much even just there to talk about. We could go on for hours about the power of just what we tell ourselves and how we talk to ourselves. So I agree. There could be any number of tools out there. And I really appreciate how you said, do it your way, do it however works best for you. But the principle is, how do we get ourselves to take an empowered approach, not a powerless approach? I am holding the calm so that way we can keep our wits about us when nobody else in the room appears to be doing it.
Good.
And I know it sounds silly, but I feel like too, you mentioned getting attacked. Like when people are attacking you, that might be because it's the only tool they have in their toolbox. So ride that out, and pretty soon you've got your whole toolbox and they got nothing. And now who has the advantage in this conversation?
Yes.
And your point too about diagnosing people, it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
Get close. They'll fill you in. They'll let you know. This conversation is going to go on. And I'm sure in your world too, a lot of these are iterative relationships and conversations. We're going to come back tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever. And we'll pick up on what we learned today. We'll update our strategy. So I love all of that. And I'm jumping around your book a little bit now because we're talking about emotions. But something that piqued my attention when I was reading your book is how you talk about high emotions. I might not be using the right term, big emotions being more about diagnostics and less about symptoms. Could you walk us through that, please?
Oh, I love that. That you said that so beautifully. We tend to react to people's symptoms, react to whatever their defense mechanism is. Why? Why would I do that? Why would I give away my power? I'm going to watch you do your little dance and then figure out what's the best way. Are we playing basketball or are we playing golf? It's just the size of the ball. How are we doing that? And so let me give a wonderful analogy that is really very good. Let's say you go into the emergency room and you go, oh my God, my stomach really hurts, blah, and you vomit all over the floor. Well, most of us kind of go, ooh, gross, vomit's disgusting. Not the ER doc. She looks at it. What's in there? Does it smell right? Is there metal in there? Are there pills? Undigested food? What's in there? It's a diagnostic tool. When somebody is vomiting at you, I don't care if it's fear, I don't care if it's rage, I don't care if it's high emotionality, any high emotion, it doesn't make a difference what it is. They're vomiting. Be an ER doc. Look at it. And when you get triggered is because their emotionality is exactly the thing that makes you most triggered and most scared. If you're, for example, my husband is a pilot and an engineer. He's very introverted. He doesn't express emotions easily. So when someone's coming at him with hard, high emotions, he'll have a tendency to just pull back. It's overwhelming. And so think of it this way. Like I'm very extremely empathic. I have to be to kind of do the work that I do. I don't like rock concerts. I don't like going to large, crowded, loud places. It burns me. It's unpleasant for me. And yet I have a friend who is actually introverted, adores going. All that external stimulation to her is like an auditory massage. Interesting, right? And what we tend to do is go right, wrong, good, bad, like, don't like. No, know yourself. This is what I like. This is what makes me feel comfortable. This is what keeps me in power. This is the way I choose to do things. So in addition to being exceptionally effective, you also maintain your peace, you maintain your calm, and you love and protect and take care of yourself. It's a beautiful thing when the world can't whipsaw you around. I can see things I don't like. I have opinions. I want this, I don't want that, but I don't get whipsawed around anymore. But it's taken, I've been doing this 35 years. So it's taken a long time and a lot of practice, but I work on that. I don't want to be whipsawed around. I mean, I want to be rooted, and I can, if some junk happens, it's not fun. I can handle it. How am I going to handle it becomes the more interesting question.
I think that's a great question. How am I going to handle it? I have a young son. People who listen will probably think I talk about him way too much, but my wife and I were extremely proud of him. I mean, we are often. But she opened his binder from school the other day, and there was a sticky note on it in his handwriting that said, "I'm okay. I can do hard things."
Isn't
And
that
she looked
great?
at me and she's like, "Did you do?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "How did he?" Like, just leave it alone. She's like, "I want to know." I'm like, "Don't ask. Do not ask, because this is something that he did on his own. It's working for him. Let's not take
Exactly.
something great and make it embarrassing. Don't call any attention to it. Just
Exactly.
let it ride."
Exactly. Because that is so freaking important. And I bet you anything the teacher read a book called Untamed, which if anyone's not read it, it's a fantastic book. And in Untamed, she came out with it, oh God, 5 years ago. And she uses that expression all the time. We're okay. We can do hard things. And I bet you the teacher read that and that's how it got
I'll find
fed.
out.
But I use that. What a great thing. Like when we read books and do stuff, we're sharing knowledge and information as opposed to tic tac videos. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
my husband calls it the tic tac twinkle feed. You know, I mean,
Yes.
let's share good stuff to make us better. Like my
Yeah.
tagline on my email is go do good things. Who cares?
Please.
Go do good
Please.
things.
Speaking of doing good things and staying on this emotion track, which we'll get off of eventually, I'm sure. But in your book, you talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy, which I think a lot of people have heard. But you also talk about the difference between gratitude and validation. And that is where I would like to take a pit stop for a second. Can you please walk us through the difference between and the importance of both gratitude and validation?
Isn't that excellent? I love that. Gratitude is about me. Validation is about you, right? And so what tends to happen is people focus, look, we're all human beings, right? We focus on us. I'm grateful. Okay, well, that's very nice. But what does that have to do with me? Right? If people want to know the magic elixir to grease any tracks, to be magic beans that will grow anything you want, it's validation. Now, the trick is validation's not easy. That's why people don't do it. They'll say something stupid like, I like your shirt. Well, okay. Particularly for men, that's hard because men don't know how to validate women. So to be what they look like, and that will backfire on you. It's not good at all. It has to be about what a person did or how they handled something. So let's say, like, just let me give you a raw example. Someone has an illness or a death or something like that. What do we normally always say? I'm sorry. Why is that even relevant? It's actually stupid and annoying to the recipient because it's about you. And I wasn't asking you for your sympathy. Why the hell are you doing that? That's irritating to me. What I want and what would be helpful is that must be difficult. Or it seems like you're handling that as well as could be expected. Or to a kid, I'm proud of you. That was hard and you handled it well. Do you see the difference? Dramatic. Costs you nothing. Instantly available. Instant results. Validation is spectacular. And what I always tell people whenever I do a training or anything is once you learn this concept, you'll realize what a poor validator you are. Okay. The next day, validate 10 different people. 10. And you will realize how badly you do it. And then that's how you get better at it and how you get better at it. Because you don't want it to be patronizing. You don't want it to be condescending. You don't want it to be arrogant and self-righteous. You don't want it to be, I know better than you. See all those pitfalls along the way to this magic trick? So what it really requires is listening to what the person said. And I mean, the cheat sheet is really, how would I feel if that happened to me? Now, not everyone's feelings are the same, but that's a beginning cheat sheet, right? How would I feel if that happened? I would be devastated. But you can't say, well, you must be devastated because no, I'm not. Don't tell me how I feel. See? So the trick is validation literally is it's the magic golden holy grail, but you got to do it right. So, and the best way I can tell you, I can write a book on how to validate. Don't even waste your time on that. Just tomorrow, everybody listening, validate 10 different people. And 5 or 6 of them are going to go sideways. They're going to be done poorly. And what a learning experience. You are going to learn so much because then you can correct it. And the beauty is if you do that every day for, let's say, a week or 2 weeks, your ability to validate will triple. And then it will get better and better and better. And then what will happen is people will say, I just like being around him. She's just comfortable to talk to. He gets it. That's what people say about me when I get reviews or what it is I do. They don't say, oh my God, she validates very well.
They probably don't even pick up that that's what you're doing.
If you do it right, they don't even get that that's what you're doing. That's exactly right.
Yep. I think the same can be said with building rapport. If you do it right, it doesn't feel like a thing you do at the beginning of the conversation. It feels like a relationship building over a short period of time. So fantastic point about validation. I couldn't agree more. It's something that I definitely need to work on to for certain. And I think a lot of what you touched in there on some of the examples for when we try to do it and we screw it up, my opinion here, spoiler alert or warning, however you want to say it, is that I truly believe that maybe the single biggest problem we have with communication, and I know that's a bold statement, I'm not a hot take person, just follow me for a second, is that we were all operationally conditioned to communicate as kids by adults who talk to us like we're kids. So then we grow up to be adults who have to talk to other adults, but we were only ever conditioned to talk to kids. So now we start talking to other adults like kids and get mad at them when they don't respond the way we wanted them to. But for all the adults listening right now, I don't know how many of us enjoy being treated like kids, which I think ties into something that I read in your book as well. When you talk about problems surrounding
Wait,
blame.
first of all, before you get to that, I just have to, clever. I've not thought of it that way before. I think you're onto something. I think that's real clever.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I think blaming ties into that because as a parent or as an adult, it's really easy to blame a kid for not studying, for getting something wrong, for making a mistake. I coach youth sports, and every time I hear another coach yell at a kid for not doing it the way the coach told him to do it, I want to throw that coach over the fence, which is a personality defect that I have, and we'll deal with it on another day. But I'm just curious, as you wrote about blame in your book, have you ever seen blame actually solve a problem? And what are some better alternatives?
Yeah, blame never. What I say, I have a whole chapter in the book called the Blame, Defend, Justify Death Dance. And that's what it does. It never works. Now, you might get compliance because someone is weaker than you, or more scared than you, or more intimidated than you. So they just take it. But then they come after you later because those little nuts are stored for winter and they grow virulent. And they will always come back at you in the worst possible way in the worst possible time. So blame does not work. What I like to talk about is acknowledgement. And so one of the things that's new in parenting now, everyone talks about choices. You want to tell kids, did you make a good choice? Did you not? Now, there's times a kid needs to be told no. There's sometimes an employee needs to be told no. There's sometimes a partner or a spouse needs to be told no. That's just called boundaries. You're allowed to be able to do that. But what blame is it's the justification for why I'm mad. I see something, I don't like it. So the tool that I choose to use is blame. That says to me a low skill set and a low emotional maturity. That's all it says. Now, have I had it? Do I every once in a while fall prey to it because I'm pissed off about something? You bet. I have an amygdala. I'm a human being. But I recognize it and go, I'm going to give everybody who's listening here an anti-poison pill. Let's say you screw up and you say something wrong or you blame or you do something like that. If you're smart and you're working on increasing your skill set, like everyone listening to this podcast is doing, stop yourself the second you realize you screwed up and go, God, I screwed up. That was not the way I want to say that. I really apologize. May I have a do-over? Who says no to that? Nobody. Then do it right. It actually gets you more points than if you did it perfectly to begin with, which is so interesting because it shows I'm modeling self-reflection. I'm modeling, I fell down, I pick up and dust myself off. I'm modeling trying to do it better because I care about you and you're important. And so I'm going to correct my own behavior. Well, what does that model to you and everyone else around? We have this whole thing that employers have to be perfect and spouses have to be perfect and parents have to be perfect. BS, BS, BS. Wipe that out of your mind. Perfection is the enemy of better. Best is the enemy of better. What you want is to get better. And quite frankly, if you get too perfect, why do you need to be alive? You may as well die at that point. The whole earth is a learning school. So if I get too perfect, I'm just going to evolve out, right? So I'd like to stay alive a little while longer.
You
So
both.
continuous improvement.
Yeah, again, I'm in full agreement, although I would like to argue maybe I'm the perfect husband, but I'm sure my wife probably has a stack of evidence that would be counterfactual to that statement for
Wait,
sure.
just be careful on that one because as soon as you think you've accomplished something, God says, pop quiz.
Oh yeah. Yes, for sure. The universe has a way of knocking me down a peg. There's no
Oh,
doubt
all of
about
us.
that.
All of us, my love, all of us.
So what and you when you talked earlier, like sometimes somebody needs to be asked about their choices. Sometimes somebody needs to just be told no. Situations are different. And you talked earlier about what works best for you. I'm holding the calm. How we do it might be a little bit different for each of us. That speaks to something else that I honestly believe, at least explicitly, your book is the only negotiation communication book that I have seen that out in the open talks about situational awareness. And to me, my bias, people can roll their eyes, that's fine. I believe that developing situational awareness in our conversations and in our relationships is perhaps the most important thing we can do in order to be successful, not just now, but long term. Yet I see literally you're the only person in a communication book that I've seen spell it out. So for me, I would really appreciate it if you could walk us through from a negotiation mediation standpoint, what does developing and executing situational awareness mean to you?
Well, I thought you said it beautifully. So exactly what you said. And like I say, chapter 1 of my book was speak into the ears that are hearing you. And, publishers. And so why are we starting with that? Why aren't we starting with techniques? I said, because diagnosis is the number one thing. So let me give everybody, again, I love analogies and stories. There's a bomb in the town square. That guy waddles out in his Michelin suit. He doesn't just start cutting wires. He looks, he diagnoses, he listens, he pays attention. Then he formulates a plan and he does it. That's basically situational awareness. When I walk into a situation, you've heard the expression read the room. It's a great expression. And kids, we've been using that a lot on my grandkids because I have a very active, grandson who will just burst into the room with whatever he's got. And we'd be pulling him back, read the room. What's happening there before you walk in and it's all about you. So situational awareness is actually an antidote to narcissism. And, we throw narcissism around like it's this big, terrible, label. And it's not. It's the flip side of confidence. I have to believe I can ride a bicycle when I can't, and I know I'm going to fall and, skin my knees. When I'm 16 and I'm driving a car, I have to believe I can do it. What about the surgeon who's cutting your chest open? He or she's got to believe they can do it. So there's a certain level of confidence and narcissism that I can do this, right? That comes from being able to walk into a situation, look around, and go, I got this. So that's how I like to look at situational awareness as read the room. So when you walk in, as good negotiators, we always know the one that's talking the most has the least power. Always. It's the quiet one who's the smartest one who has the power. So you want to walk into a room and be the quietest one at first. I want to look. I want to see what I got here. What are the pieces on the board? What's happening? Is there some snickerdoodle, deceptive stuff going on? What's the tone of the room? What's the tone of the people in the room? How am I going to fit into this? What's most effective for me? All of that diagnostic stuff can sometimes happen in 5 minutes and then you need to talk. Sometimes it can be an hour and you sitting and watching. Who's got the power? It's not the talker. It's not. So if you are a talker, it's because you're an extrovert. And I had to learn this, so I will self-confess about myself. I was a talker, but that was because I had fear and I had insecurity. So the more I talked, the faster I talked, the funnier I was, the smarter I was. I would hide that insecurity and everyone in that room would think I was okay. And then I had to learn it actually made it worse. Makes you look more insecure, makes you look less confident. It makes you look more braggadocio. These are EQ, emotional maturity things. And if you're listening to this and it's pinging a little bit for you, fantastic. Congratulate yourself, first of all, on amazing self-awareness. Amazing. And every day I try to look at how can I be better tomorrow than I am today. And I don't do it for you or my clients. Selfishly, I do it for me. I don't want to lose my power. I don't want to lose my junk. I don't want to get jerked around. So I have to root my roots stronger. And it's not hard. It just requires some self-awareness.
Self-awareness and practice. Earlier, you talked about the flip side of confidence, and I couldn't agree more with what you said about being quiet. In fact, if you want people to listen to you more, say less. It's kind of funny how those scales tip. But having it's a different level of confidence to be able to sit quietly in a room full of people who are either proving or pretending to be smart, capable, informed, making decisions, yada, yada, yada. But it takes the practice of going through it, realize you've survived it. Maybe you lost a little bit, maybe you gained a little bit, maybe you can't tell, but the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And the more confident we are, the less we're talking to ourselves and the more we're actually listening and observing to what's going on around us. This is a bit
now let me add one more tip to that, though, because I always like to make this an advanced class. That's more of a tip for those of us who are more talkative and loquacious to be able to shut up. What about somebody who is hard to find their voice? A lot of women have this as an issue, and they can't speak up at meetings or they feel shouted down. And if they're too quiet, then they're run over. So see, there's always a flip side to every single thing here. So what I always say when I do talks to like women's groups, that everyone really resonates with that. Let's say you want to say something, rather than just saying it and get walked over, loudly go, hold on. Everyone stops when you do that. Then you say what you want to say. What you've done is create space for the other loquacious blabbermouths to shut up and be able to listen to you. Wait a minute. Hold on. See how easy that is? Any one of those things stops a conversation, and you're not mean, you're not nasty, you're not aggressive, you're not taking over. You're creating a pause and then if you say, well, I can't get a word in edgewise, or you won't let me talk, or I was talking, all that does is make people go, ugh, get away from me. It may be true, but it's not effective. And the thing is, I hear a lot of women doing that when they get interrupted, like, I was talking. Okay, that is one way of doing a boundary. It's not the most effective. And it doesn't make the other person really want to hear what you have to say. And the goal is that I want you to hear what I have to say. So, and it's almost like, oh, you know what? That's a great segue to what you said earlier. I was talking. Don't interrupt me. Those are blame statements, aren't they? They suck. Don't do that. Just go, hold on. Wait a minute. I have something I want to say. Claim your space. Don't blame the other person for not allowing you to claim your space. Claim your space. come from a place of power, not a place of blaming somebody else down, even if you're right and they're wrong, even if they're dominating and bullying, none of that matters. What's effective? Be effective. That's what I try to do in my little, my little thing here is not theory and practice and all that junk. What works? I've been doing this for, 35-ish years. I've done probably close to 10,000 cases already. What works? How is it that I walk into a company like Google or Facebook or something, and someone says, I want $100 million from them. And the company says, here's 10,000, go pound sand. How do I settle that? With logic? With facts? With arguing that you're right or wrong? No, it's with everything I write about in this book. Because I don't care if you are a billionaire or a giant multi-trillion-dollar company. You woke up that morning and you put your pants on one leg at a time. You brushed your teeth. You went to the bathroom. You're just a person with an amygdala and an ego and a need to be right and a need not to be wrong and a need to be understood, blah, blah, blah.
Couldn't agree more. Focus on the experience we need to create to get to the desired outcome. That's in many ways what you're talking about. But you just said something that triggered a memory of something else that I read in your book. And that was the difference between, and I could be misquoting this, so if I am, make fun of me properly and then straighten it out. But the difference between focusing on winning and needing not to lose.
Oh, isn't that good? Love that one. That is amazing stuff. And people who are into, psychology and all that, that's a Daniel Kahneman kind of stuff, but it's been around for a long time. He actually, this is what's so interesting. This guy named Daniel Kahneman, who recently died, was a psychologist, and he won a Nobel Prize in economics for proving that basically Adam Smith's rational man does not exist. For years, economists thought, oh, people will be rational and they follow facts. It's so stupid. Anybody who interacted with human beings knew it was stupid. But that was the accepted dogma for, God, like 100 years. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. Anyone who had a barter or a shop or a market knew that that was not true. And so what he was able to prove is that most people, when you go into either a negotiation, a persuasion, a sales pitch, anything, is that people are trying to win. No, they're not. Like 85% of them are trying to not lose. And so think about it. If you go into a scenario and you're developing your strategy of how you're going to handle this sales thing or this negotiation thing or whatever you're doing, right? And how is this other guy trying to win? Well, I want to win. So how are we going to beat him? Why don't you look at how the other guy is trying to not lose? Because you could offer things that cover his behind, don't cost you very much, and get you a win. That is the deeper, richer part of win-win problem solving. Win-win problem solving just sounds stupid. We all talk about it. It's like, and it's a big, huge thing that everyone does because it's easy to say it. I want chocolate cake to not be fattening. I'm not going to get what I want. Win-win problem solving by itself is worthless. If you understand these underlying factors where how can I create a way that I get what I need and you don't feel like you lost? That's an honest, better analysis of what that is and why it actually works. But again, that's speaking into the ears that are hearing you, putting the right bait on the hook. And I want to give everyone one more analogy, if you don't mind, because somebody is listening to this and saying, oh, that sounds manipulative, right? It is not, my friends. Let me give the analogy that proves that. If I invite you to my home for dinner, I want to be a good host, right? So I should know that you're vegetarian, you're allergic to peanuts, and you're allergic to shellfish, and you're gluten-free. Shouldn't I make a meal that satisfies my guests? How is that different than my conference table? I need to look at you, see you, what's important to you, what is annoying to you, and change my framework accordingly. That's the prep I do, not on what facts I'm going to say, and we're going to start with this, and we're going to start with that, which is how people do it. That's not what it is. And so if you do it correctly, everything just flows easily. Amygdala is calmed down, friend or foe happens, that win-lose thing gets balanced, you're not such an enemy, I really do feel like I won. All of that happens without the kumbaya garbage. It's just about being skillful and diagnostic. I go to a doctor. I don't want a doctor to just shove pills at me because it worked for the person in front of me. I want a doctor to listen to me. What's unique to me? It's exact same thing at your sales table, your negotiating table, your conflict resolution table. It's basically the way you stop human being bumper car egos, which is usually the way it is.
That's a great way to put it. Bumper car egos. To me, what you just said is so important to go back and revisit. Yeah, I agree with you. Every time I hear somebody say, I want to focus on the win-win, like, yeah, great. I want a full head of hair. It's just not going to happen. Let's focus on strategically and tactfully. What are we going to do to be successful here? So it sounds great, but I agree. We can toss that one. Focusing on what the other people need to experience so they don't feel like they lost. Help them save face. Help them protect their self-image. Help them walk away with their head held high. I love the way you write about it in your book.
Or protect their job.
Yeah.
Or protect their status. Or protect all of that junk. All of that is, I tell you, I mediate with the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. They're just boys and girls trying to not be wrong and do a good job, just like everybody else.
And to quote a book I read recently, let them leave with their sword.
You're talking about my chapter on the Civil War, which, if you haven't read it yet, guys, you'll love that chapter. I think it's just absolutely brilliant,
The statement is true. It's so true. You mentioned conflict as you were wrapping that up, and there's another piece that you mentioned in your book that I'd love to ask you about. As we get into a lot of these conversations, negotiations, mediations, a term that I'll throw around sometime is, I use it all the time, and now I'm drawing a space on it, potentially contentious conversations. Like, it may or may not be, but there's fuel there. It could get there, could become contentious. How much of the conflict that we actually experience is manufactured or made up?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I want to say all of it, but I want to give you a corollary to it. It's not that it's manufactured or made up, it's not avoided. That's how I would frame it. When I go out, right now I'm in Panama, and when I go out hiking, I know there's poisonous snakes out there. Am I going to be an idiot and just walk around on my phone, not paying attention? Well, okay, if I get bit, it's really my own fault. I walk in there paying attention. So if you walk into something that is potentially contentious, think about it before you do. How am I going to handle it? How am I going to tone it down? How am I going to, and I can give everyone the number one tip. Let's say you've got something contentious. I don't care if it's a kid or a teacher or a boss or a CEO or a politician. I don't care who it is. Start with a validation. And let me make it even easier for everybody, because as you're still learning how to validate, let's say you come at me with whatever, and usually it'll be blame. I got to respond to that. I don't know how to validate you because I don't think you're right. I think you're stupid, or you're overreacting, or you're ridiculous, or you're whatever the heck you are, right? I really cannot validate you with honesty. But you know what I can do? I can name the emotion. That just requires observation. You seem really angry. I'm not angry. I'm frustrated. Okay, you seem really frustrated. Oh, you seem pretty sad about that. You seem pretty depressed about that. Look how easy it is. It's not hard. And what does that do to the other person? I feel seen. I feel heard. Most times when you have conflict or contentiousness, it's because people are pounding on the door to be heard and to be seen. Gosh darn it, you will listen to me. Why do I have to make them pound on the door? Why can't I listen to them right away? Why can't I do it out of the box? They say to me whatever they say, who cares? I name the emotion. I have a whole thing in the book called VUX, validate, understand, clarify, summarize. That's for a little more sophisticated when you want to get to problem solving. But just an easy tip for everybody, name the emotion. It immediately is disarming. And it's almost like somebody's coming in ready to fight. It just takes the wind out of their sails. Like, how am I supposed to fight you when you're not fighting back? It's really interesting. And then often, very often, you'll have people apologize. I'm sorry I was so harsh. I'm sorry I came on so strong. I was just frustrated or sad or upset or scared or whatever. Thank you for listening. What did that just do? It's pretty cool stuff.
Reset the entire conversation. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's hard to fight somebody who won't fight back. Just take their momentum in their direction and send them full circle back to where we need to be. I'm paying attention to the time. I know you got a tight schedule today, and I appreciate you working me in. Thank you so much. But I think there's one more question I have to ask for the listeners, especially the negotiation folks and the business development folks. They'll be mad at me if I don't. I have enough people who are already mad at me. You talk in your book about not just closing, but creating commitments. So this is probably an hour-plus conversation in and of itself with details and examples. But from a procedural standpoint, when you look at closing an agreement, when you look at not just getting the handshake, but really creating that commitment to action moving forward, how do you typically approach that moment? What's your guide for accomplishing that?
Wonderful. So that's that technique VUX that I told you all about. Validate, understand, clarify, summarize. What happens, particularly for more aggressive people, is they tend to skip the validate and understand part and go right to the clarify, summarize part, and then your closing rate goes down. So this is the analogy I'm going to give everybody. You want to have, especially for the men, okay, guys? You want to have sex with that woman? Wine and roses first. Okay? That's what validation and understanding is. Now, for women, and I hate to do all these generic things, especially with gender fluidity and all this stuff, but it's feminine energy and negative, and excuse me, feminine energy and masculine energy. We all have it, men and women, both of us. So you respond to that difference in what it is in you. So if you want to have a closing and somebody has more feminine energy, you need to go a little slower, a little more gentle, a little more reassuring, making sure that they don't feel pushed, that they have the ability to say no. And then you create a structure with questions. When would it be convenient to finalize this? What else do you need? When should we do this? What approvals do we need? What would be most convenient for you? Okay, that's a feminine, gentle energy. It's also an introvert energy. It's also an engineer energy. I use the word feminine and masculine just like you would an electrical plug. There's a feminine and masculine electrical plug. It's just easier. And if I get into gender fluidity junk, it's just too hard to understand what we're talking about here. So it's that kind of energy. Those people don't like to be pushed. You push them, you lose them. You have to give them the opportunity to say no. On the other hand, people with more masculine aggressive energy, they want it done so they can move on to the next thing. Don't dick me around. How long is it going to take me to get it? When will it happen? What's the delivery schedule? What's the problem? So again, speaking into the ears that are hearing you, what do you have? And how do you want to frame that? That's what you do and how you close a deal. But you, because you've got the skill set, create the structure. It's very hard to learn how to play piano from a YouTube video. I mean, you could probably do it, but having a teacher is a whole lot easier, right? And so same thing, like you can't fall in love by reading love poems. They're beautiful, but you need to experience that. So if you want to close something, look at the person you're talking to. Do they want it fast or slow? Do they need it specific or do they need it general? Do they need to have the ability to say no? Do they have to have the ability, do they need to feel like they're in control or that they've won something? Okay, when are we doing it? How are we doing it? What's the timing for it? What's the review process for it? What's the commitment? Now, I'm going to add one other little thing here, just because we're being, so frank about the practicality of all of this. Sometimes a little fear helps, because somebody who's afraid to make a decision or afraid to make a commitment will make a commitment if they think somebody else is going to take their thing. It's just human nature. But if it's somebody that's not afraid of that, and I use that technique, you're going to look at me like, get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you really have to diagnose and look at the person you're dealing with. And if you want just a quick overall everything that you can say, give them the ability to say no. By definition, that means you're not pushing.
Yeah.
Okay? You know what? If you don't want to do this, I don't want to push you. I like you too much, and I care about your situation. And if this isn't going to work for you, that's fine. I do have other people that want it. I want to give you first preference. So I do need to have a deadline or a time frame, because if you don't want it, I've got other people that do. But I do not want you feeling any pressure at all. If you don't want it, what would it work? Thursday at 5 o'clock? Would that work for you? Would you rather have Monday morning? I probably need to have it before the weekend, because if you're not, I know there's other people, I've got to go deal with what I'm doing next, but totally fine. And we will still be friends, and there's no problem. Something like that.
Yep.
Right? So when you give them the ability to say no, it takes away all the pressure. And I apologize for people that get mad with the whole male female stuff, but I'm sorry, it's just the easiest way to do it. And men have a feminine side and a masculine side. Women have a feminine side and a masculine side. In gay and lesbian relationships, it's just the energy of the universe that is two opposites seeking to make whole. Anyway,
We'll leave it at that.
That's my existentialism for the end of the day.
There you go. But your point about giving people the opportunity to say no is absolutely spot on. And then if you don't agree, please tell me. But I would also add that if we're going to do that, if somebody else wants this, I need it by this date, because make sure you're telling the truth. Make sure you actually have that other thing lined up. Because if people think you're lying, your credibility is gone, your relationship is gone. And if you're bluffing and they call your bluff, you're screwed. So don't give somebody an ultimatum. Don't play that card unless you actually have it lined up and you're ready to take action.
You're right. And let me give a corollary to that, because you're totally right. Let's say you don't. You can just say, I'll go find somebody else.
Yep.
I'm sure I can find somebody else. So don't feel like any pressure that you have to do this for me.
Much better way if you don't have it.
Easy. So, honesty and integrity, that's how I tell people, is that I like to be honest, because one, integrity means something to me. But more importantly, the older I get, you just can't remember what you said. So if you always tell the truth, your life is a lot easier to remember what you've done and what you haven't done.
I'm pretty sure that the first interrogation workbook I ever taught out of had a quote from Groucho Marx in it that said, I'm going to screw this up so someone can correct me on it, but something like, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember anything.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's just easier,
Yeah.
No short-term gratification, no short-term. If you live your life short-term, you're going to have a very stressful life, right? And, self-esteem, again, we're getting philosophical here, but what is self-esteem? And they think, oh, it's skill, it's confidence. No, it's not. It's looking in the mirror and liking what you see. And that comes from morality, I think, my friends. It comes from morality, is that when you feel like you're a good, honest person of integrity, even if you make mistakes, even if you screw up, that's where self-esteem comes from.
I appreciate it. So I want to let you go, because I know you've got a day where we're trying to juggle a bunch of things. So for the people that have been taking notes along with me for this whole conversation, where can they go to follow you, to stay connected with you, to buy your book? Let us know all of it.
Wonderful. Well, Holding the Calm, it's on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure it's at, any bookstores. But Amazon often has it on sale, so check there. Holdingthecalm.com is my website. I've been on about 200 podcasts. Everyone I'm on is on that website, along with quotes and articles and all kinds of junk. And what I tell people, if you want a free training and you need, continuing education credits or something, get a group together, listen to a couple of those podcasts, boom, free training, and that makes life easy. My actual webpage for my business is just heshaabramsmediation.com, just kind of the higher level, big, intense cases that I work on and that I do. And I'm on LinkedIn, and I post every day. So I do a little 20-second tidbit of whatever is going on in my own world for continuous improvement. And I rotate it between entertainment, information, and back and forth. So I make things funny, I make things interesting, because if you can make people laugh, they tend to retain the information a little bit more. And it's just my gift. I mean, I'm 67 years old. I'm going to probably keep doing this till I'm 70, 72, something like that. So at this point, I've spent a lifetime and a career learning some of this stuff. This is just my attempt to give back. I just want to make it easier for people so they have access to this stuff. So feel free to connect with me. I'd love to see you around. Michael, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing. And everyone who's listening to this podcast, you guys are doing, police work is what it is without, tear gassing people in the streets. Seriously.
Like we were talking about earlier, if you can help people save face, protect their self-image, focus on outcomes, treat people with respect, you'll be surprised what they will tell you and what you can achieve together. I really appreciate you working us in today. Thank you so much. I took a whole bunch of notes while I was listening to you. I really appreciate it. I have all your links right there in the show notes for everybody. Thank you for including us in your time that you spend giving back with everything you've experienced. And I look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Go do good things.
Yes, thank you. Fantastic conversation. I appreciate all of the ideas, techniques, perspectives, and approaches you packed into that 60-minute conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experience in so much detail with us. Man, I could go back and recap the whole conversation, but I really love how you talked about speak into the ears that are hearing you, adapting our approach for the people that we're talking with in the context of the situation. So important. Situational awareness is the antidote for narcissism. What a great line. And I also love how you talked about recognize the power of the quiet one. So true in so many different ways. I appreciate the great conversation. Thank you. And of course, thank you to all of you who joined us for another week. We appreciate you being here week after week. Hopefully you just took a bunch of notes that can help you in your high impact, high stress conversations that you have coming up on your calendar as well. Please, while you're here, take just a quick moment to like the show, share it with your network, subscribe to it, leave us some feedback, leave us a rating. We really would appreciate it. Thank you so much. Your feedback means a lot to us. And check out our sponsors. Go to humantel.com, enter the code Inquasive25 and get 25% off the best-in-class online training program of your choice to recognize when people's emotions are changing by accurately interpreting changes in their facial expressions and nonverbal communications. For the professional interviewers, head over to certifiedinterviewer.com. Get all your questions answered about the International Association of Interviewers and earning the Certified Forensic Interviewer designation. And while you're online, please check out Inquasive.com. That's where you can learn more about the programs our clients ask us to custom facilitate for their senior leaders, sales teams, HR teams, and more to teach them how to uncover hidden value in all of their high-impact conversations. We appreciate you being here week after week. Thank you so very much. Stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.